What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Okay, so we know about this big fight that's been going on in Texas, and then we got the whole country in an uproar, and everybody, they're wanting to dip their toes into the gerrymandering, if you will. So California, right, Democrats, they're not even trying to hide it anymore. Governor Gavin Newsom has come out and said, well, check this out. California is moving forward with a partisan redistricting effort to counter Texas's move. Now, yeah, Governor Gavin Newsom come out and was threatening Texas. If you do this, we'll redistrict and get 10 Democratic seats. No, like, I don't buy into any of this, right? Like, this is all nonsense. But what Democrats are doing, they're being very naked with their partisanship right here. They're being very naked with their duplicity on this, right? That they just don't care at all, right? Texas has been redrawing these maps for almost a year at this point, and they have very good reasons. And it's not just, oh, we're gonna pick up 5 more Republican seats in Congress. No, it's because after COVID and ever since COVID, a mass exodus from blue states have been going to Texas, Florida, other places like this. So Florida may need to redistrict as well, right? They've been coming to Louisiana too, not nearly as many, but we've got a lot of people that have moved from California to here, moved from blue states, Washington, Oregon, to here, to the South, right? So they need to redistrict their maps. They're not coming out and saying, yes, we're going to do this. Now, Trump came in and dropped the bomb on everything and said, yeah, we're going to pick up 5 more seats or whatever, right? That just threw gasoline on the fire right there. Now, what Texas was doing was not gerrymandering at that point. You could say it was, but it wasn't the reasoning behind it is to pick up these many more, right? They redrew the maps and then saw that, hang on, we're going to pick up 5 more seats. What? So, once again, Democrats, they don't care. They're just being very partisan about this and saying, yeah, we're going to gerrymander. We're going to rig your representation in Congress to benefit us. Republicans are not saying the same thing, but the voters have something to say about that, and we're going to get into that because there was a fascinating poll come out. Y'all check. Let's get into this though before I rant on forever. California Governor Gavin Newsom said Thursday his state will hold a November 4th special election to seek voter approval of new congressional map drawn to try to win Democrats 5 more U.S. House seats in 2026. I wonder why it's just 5. That's fascinating, don't you think? The move is a direct response to a Republican-led effort in Texas pushed by President Donald Trump as his party seeks to maintain its slim House majority after the midterm elections. Now, once again, after what I just broke down, can we not see that this is manipulation? They have been redrawing these maps for a while. Donald Trump come out and made his statement, dropped his gasoline can onto the fire, like what, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, something like that. They've been doing this for a while. This has been in the books. So none of this is true, right? It's not led by Donald Trump. Like, once again, they're just trying to push it's always that narrative. Republicans are evil and Democrats, they're the good guys. They're just responding to authoritarianism. Texas lawmakers are considering a new map that would help them send 5 more Republicans to Washington. Democrats, who so far have halted a vote by leaving the state, announced Thursday that they will return home if state Republicans end their current special session and California releases its own redrawn map proposal. Hang on just a second. So, wow, that's fascinating. That's even worse. Because now the Texas Democrats are basically saying that Republicans, they have to stop what they're doing. They can't have those 5 extra seats. And if they stop what they're doing and California picks up a new map that gives them 5 extra seats, then we'll think about coming home. We'll think about going back to the state. You see what I mean, folks? Democrats just don't care at all. They don't care about democracy. They always yell and scream and gnash their teeth. It's democracy. Well, you know what? Redrawing the maps is democracy as a matter of fact. All of this is democracy. Every single bit of it is. What Donald Trump is doing is democracy because he won the election. And if he is entitled to carry out his constitutionally authorized duties under the Constitution, then he should be allowed to do that. But what are Democrats doing? They're screaming authoritarianism and at the same time using Article 3 to bludgeon Trump over the head to stop him from carrying out his constitutional duties just because they disagree with it. It has nothing to do with democracy. It has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with authoritarianism because they want to run the country. They want single party rule. They want to be the ones pushing the buttons and switching the levers and doing all the good stuff and telling you how to live your life. Because we are the highly Harvard-educated folks. Like, shut up, sit down. This is how democracy works, folks. I really can't stand these people. They really are truly authoritarians. Like, think about it. Where would we be if we gave Democrats just unfettered control and access to all the government functions, if you will? Think about that for a second. Texas Republican Governor Greg Abbott is expected to call another special session to push through new maps. We can't stand back and watch this democracy disappear district by district all across the country, Newsom said, joined by prominent labor leaders and Democratic politicians. Once again, like I said, this is all part of democracy. People move around. When people move, you need to redraw the maps. There's been a mass exodus from states like California. Like I fully expect that California will only step on a rake, if you will. They're just going to destroy themselves. I don't think they can squeeze any more Democratic seats from that state. Like, I saw somebody the other day go over, I think there was like 6 or 7 states that did not have a Republican representative in Congress. Like, I wish I would have researched that before I came in and did this video, because then I could have the hard numbers for you guys. But I do remember roundabouts, right? There was like either 5 or 6, something like that, states that did not have, like Massachusetts was one of them, did not have a Republican representative. If you go look at how many Republicans there are registered in Massachusetts and how many of those people voted for Donald Trump in the last election, you're like, hang on just a second. Look at Illinois. This is one I do remember. They have 2 Republican seats. 2 Republican congressional districts. Guess how much Donald Trump got in the last election? How many votes Donald Trump got in the last? It was like 40-something%. And they only have 2 Republican congressional members. That's it, folks. But there's state after state after state that has much higher numbers of Republicans that really don't have Republican representation. Like, I know that's not really a metric that we usually go by, but what that is saying, like, some of these states only get 1 representative just simply due to the population numbers. Like Montana, they actually get overrepresented a little bit because their population is so much less than, but they have to have at least 1. So it's kind of flubs the numbers a little bit. But, you know, there's just so many states out there that are underrepresented in some areas and overrepresented in other areas, right? This is just part of people live where they're going to live. You can't really help it. But let's keep going, because we've got a whole nother news article to get into. California lawmakers must officially declare the special election, which they plan to do next week after voting on the new maps. Democrats hold supermajorities in both chambers, and Newsom said he's not worried about winning the required support from 2/3 of lawmakers to advance the maps. Democrats signaled that they plan to make the campaign about more than maps, tying it explicitly to the fate of American democracy democracy and as an opportunity for voters to reject Trump's policies. Yeah, good luck with that, because, California is another one of those states. I think they have somewhere in the neck of the woods of like 15 million Republicans or something like that. It's like there's a lot. California has a lot of Republicans, y'all. So, yeah, good luck with that. Donald Trump, you have poked the bear and we will punch back. Newsom, who is seen as a possible 2028 presidential contender, said at a news conference with other Democrats. The Thursday announcement marks the first time any state beyond Texas is officially wading into the mid-decade redistricting fight, kicking off a national standoff that could spill into more states. That's fascinating. But you know what else is even more fascinating than that? A new poll, folks. This one right here. California voters widely prefer keeping independent redistricting panel. Now, I'm not going to get into this whole thing because they honestly made a mountain out of a molehill with this whole news story. But just the first two paragraphs is good enough to give you the gist of what's going on here. I know I usually don't like reading just some of the news article, but in this instance, yeah, I think it's warranted because the rest of that news article is just absolutely fluff. But let's get into this. California voters widely prefer keeping the state's independent redistricting commission, new polling shows, as Governor Gavin Newsom threatens to bypass it to counter GOP gerrymandering in other states. Well, they couldn't call what Governor Gavin Newsom was doing gerrymandering, but they'll call what the GOP was doing gerrymandering. That's fascinating, don't you think? And once again, that just goes to prove that the news is highly one-sided. A Politico Citron Center Possibility Lab survey found 36% of California voters support returning congressional redistricting authority to the state legislature, compared to 64% who back the Independent Redistricting Commission. That's all we needed was the numbers. 64% of Californians don't want to do this. They're like, no, this is clearly partisan. This is clearly gerrymandering. What Texas is doing is gerrymandering, sure, but it's not openly gerrymandering. It's not intended to be gerrymandering, right? You can't really not gerrymander when you redistrict things because, once again, you kind of have to in certain instances, right? Like we talk about those maps all the time. In states that have more than 775,000 residents, yeah, sometimes it's hard to draw a square block that has exactly 775,000 residents within that square block, right? This is something one of the Texas Republicans was mentioning. He was talking about this because, people don't live in square blocks, for crying out loud. So sometimes you got to make these little jut outs just to get the exact amount. And in Texas, it is law that they cannot have. The margins are very, very slim. In other words, if there is one more person than 775,000, they give a little bit of leeway. It's one person in either direction. One person. So they can have 775,001 people in a district. So if it's 775,002 people in that district, by law, they have to redraw the maps. So you could move across town, and under the law, right, if you cross a district, right, in some of these urban areas, that could be that simple, right, because they'll have several districts. If you live in a metropolis area that has millions of people, you'll have several congressional districts. So if somebody moves across town, then under the law, they have to redraw the maps, right, which is wild, to say the least. So considering the fact that all these people have been moving from California to Texas, they're redrawing the maps. That, to me, is fair. It's very fair. It's a good reason, right? It's a very good reason. The onus is on them to redraw the maps, essentially. So they must do this. And because they're doing it, Democrats are just blatantly saying, we don't care. We think it's gerrymandering, so we're going to gerrymander the crap out of our state to make sure you guys don't stay in power. They're doing everything they can, folks. Every single thing they can. And this is why it's so important to vote in midterm elections, to voice your opinion, to get online, call your congressman, let them know what you're feeling. Write them a letter if you've got to. Go to their social media profiles. Leave comments. reply to whatever it may be. Let them know how you feel about these things, because this is bogus, folks. We are at war. We are in the middle of a civil war. This is what a civilized civil war absolutely looks like, folks. It's Republicans versus Democrats, and independents are caught in the middle on this, which is kind of a scary thing, right? It's not actually physical fighting or anything like that, but we are definitely, it's more administrative, if you will, an administrative civil war. And, it remains to be seen who's going to win. Just because we have the House, the Senate, and the White House does not mean that Republicans by default are going to win. We must push back. We must voice our opinions. We must vote in elections. We cannot sit back and stand by and let Democrats control our country unfettered and unchecked. Right? I still believe we need two parties. Absolutely. We must have two parties. Single party control is authoritarianism. It'll turn into that. Absolutely. Because if, Democrats were to get a supermajority in the House and federally, things would go downhill very, very fast as far as social cohesion, I believe. That's just my opinion. But, we've seen from a lot of their policy implementation, social cohesion breaks down real quick. I mean, just look at D.C., New York, a lot of these blue cities, these big urban areas where they let crime run rampant, where there's soft on crime nonsense. They let people trans their kids, do all this nonsensical stuff that just, once again, it breaks down social cohesion. The nuclear family is under attack. Christians are under attack. Tradition is under attack. The Constitution is under attack. And they're the ones saying, oh, it's Donald Trump attacking the Constitution, when it's really Donald Trump is defending the Constitution. Everything he's doing is constitutional, for the most part, right? Like, sure, some of the things that kind of fall outside the Constitution, but once again, when he gets a court order says, no, you can't do that, we think that's unconstitutional, he backs off. Do Democrats back off? Did Joe Biden back off when the Supreme Court said, yeah, no, you can't pay off those student loans with tax dollars? Did he say, okay, we won't? No. He did an end run around the Supreme Court and did it anyway. Did Joe Biden's administration care when the Constitution says, yeah, you can't censor Americans for political speech? Did that stop them from contacting, having backdoor access to social media platforms to shut voices down online? Did they care at that point? Did they care that we must maintain a secure border? That is in the Constitution. Secure our border, for crying out loud. That is law. Did he care about that? Or did he flub those laws and say, no, we're going to interpret it differently, that makes absolutely no sense, and allow millions to come across our southern border without vetting those people? Because they didn't vet those people at all. They did not deport people with orders of deportation. That's something else that we don't ever talk about. There were so many people go through immigration court that had their final orders of deportation that they would not allow ICE to deport these people. That's insane. That's utter violation of the law. Utter violation. Alejandro Mayorkas, on a daily basis, violated the Constitution, violated our laws, and nobody did anything about it. Republicans impeached him, but what did the Senate do? They didn't even take up the matter. Didn't even take it up. Did Joe Biden say something? Hey, maybe you need to follow the law. No, none of that. So what I say to Democrats when they say Donald Trump is violating the Constitution, first I'll say, no, he's actually not. But then I'll say, well, what about your guy? Did you voice your opinion when Joe Biden was violating the Constitution on a daily basis? No, you didn't. You cheered it on. So I'm going to cheer on Donald Trump when he is actually doing what he's supposed to be doing what we voted on, as a matter of fact. It's all very fascinating, but I've gone too long. So y'all let me know what y'all think about all this. I've got a bombshell for our next video, y'all. So y'all make sure and check me out 9 o'clock in the morning. It'll be coming out 9 a.m. Y'all make sure and check that out. But that's all I got for this one. Y'all let me know what y'all think about all this down in the comment section. Am I way off the mark? I doubt it. Maybe so. Maybe my partisanship is blinding me to objectivity. But it is what it is, y'all. Y'all let me know what y'all think. Y'all don't forget to smash that like button. Subscribe if you're new around here. Share this video everywhere you can. That would be great. Sign up and become a member. And remember, I know that rhymed, but remember that God is always with us. He's always there, and he loves each and every one of you. So y'all try to have a good day and stay logical. Peace.